right now at this point in time. We're just about 3 months to the end of the year, and then we get into 2026, and from there it's going to be not a marathon, actually going to be a sprint to the 2027 polls. So I have my guest in studio this morning, Mwito Mureithi, who's a political strategist as well as a friend of the mountain. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Matthew Wasonga, who's a political commentator and a friend of the Kenyans, you said.
Yes, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Got it right.
Okay, friend of the Kenyans. Hallelujah. Okay, so we want to just delve into the game plan of President William Ruto because, you know, he has sort of come out to give us a various side of him that we've not really seen for a long time. And we had one of the headlines yesterday that was speaking about hustlers versus dynasties. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Mount Kenya factor. It's one of the stories that has made it to the top of the pages this morning, as well as just how is he going to woo the people. Now, there's this new program, the Nyota program, which has now, you know, really gained momentum. And the leaders, PSs especially, are in their counties and they're really trying to get young people at
ID cards, and you know, elections, voting in Kenya is digital. So when we have your details and they're fed digitally, and we are trying to erase, not really erase, but substitute the biometric thing by allowing it to exist and continue existing, and then have the ones who are registering now registering with your iris. You understand? So the IBC should come out clear what they're going to use. So what if they say some will vote with the iris and others will vote with the biometrics, because the older generation which has the ID cards, the ID cards may not, if they declare, they do it in parliament and make it a law that we will now be using biometric and iris, because that complaint has not been there.
Okay.
It means there are some people who will vote by the iris.
Yeah.
What if the system breaks down or is declared to have broken down when the exercise is on? It means everybody else who, and especially the Gen Zs, they're the ones who have actually registered recently, their system is broken down. It's supposed to be biometric and biometric all the way, but the introducing the iris thing, and with the new guys who are now registering, when you introduce that one, it means the IDs have already been obtained. They will be filled in a bulk data bank somewhere that has got the iris, you know, registered voters, right, and the biometric registered voters. Okay. So the Nyota is for collecting ID details.
Wasonga, from where is it? What's your view?
I think I want to go the Mureithi route. You know, Mureithi tried to make it more political than I thought. What I will say is that if you look at the government of President William Ruto from the beginning, this is a system that has been so much associated with corruption. The Nyota Fund, the idea might be good, and it might be something that is pleasing to the ears. But one thing I know is that what this government is trying to do, they are just trying to create another avenue for people to loot public funds. Because how then do you allocate 5 billion to target 100,000 individual in a country whereby over 10 million are jobless and maybe scrambling for the same opportunity? What will you do to the rest? If you look at even the 100,000 they are targeting, what percent is it? It's not even up to 1%. So if a government, how then do you go for even a 1% and you want to say that you want to employ out of so many millions we have now, you are targeting 100,000 and you allocate that amount of money. This same money can be used to do something so much significant to the people rather than dishing out. What I see, we see what happened to with the Asla Fund. When the Asla Fund was launched, the government come and said there was some, the Auditor General question how the Asla Fund was working, the money come from, the funding, everything, all that. There were a lot of questions around the Asla Fund. Now, the president, who was the engine and the brain behind the Asla Fund, did not even come to clear the air about the Asla Fund and what was going about the Asla Fund. They decided to put it behind the carpet, under the carpet, and now introduce a new program called the Nyota. Okay? What is the difference? What we should understand that what is the difference between the Asla Fund and the Nyota? Okay? They are the same thing, which means that what President William Ruto is doing is just creating more avenue. It's good now that is governing as the president at a time that nobody is willing to speak about the corruption in these cases and the theft of public funds. It's like both those who are in opposition and in the government are afraid to speak, or they don't know what to say, or they're just part of the system. We have a program in the police that have been there even before. We have the Uwezo Fund. Uwezo Fund technically is being worked at the constituency level. We have the Youth Enterprise Fund. Why is it that the president could just take the 5 billion, add it to the Uwezo Fund and the Youth Fund, talk to the member of parliament, they go back to their constituencies, even whether it was political or not, but at least we might not gamble with the lives and the future of our youths. Why can't they just go back to the constituency, encourage youth? If possible, we do even a civic education and a financial education. We get financial experts. They go outside there, talk to the youth. The youth come to the already established system like the Uwezo Fund and the Youth Enterprise Fund. They take the loans, whether it is grant or what. They take the loan, they do their business and pay back to the government. Why do we have to introduce so many new things? We repeat so many things, but changing names.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have only just an upgraded Asla Fund, which was giving people 500, and you realize a whole CS coming to defend how 500 is important to an individual. What can 500 do to someone in this time, this kind of economy? And you realize someone coming to defend a 500 shillings loan given to them by, and if you look at that time, you are given 475 because they will get their 25. So what can 475 do to an individual? If you are really serious that you want to change the life of someone. If I give you 447 today to start business, what business will you start? Okay? Let's say this is someone that maybe has gone even a whole day without taking something.
Yeah.
Are they going to think first on how to eat or to start a business? That is where we are. What I'm saying with this Nyota Fund is that majority, even those the youth themselves, does not even understand how it works. Okay? Majority of people does not even know how this, they don't even know what Nyota is.
So why are we having it? From where you sit, why are we having it?
We are having it. This is not a creation. This is not what Kenyans need. This is something that the government has created to give room for some individual within the government to loot public fund. Okay? Today you are just saying that they are saying that they are going to borrow 5 billion. Okay? What I've always said, can we do an audit? Let's say after 1 year after President William Ruto must have launched this Nyota thing, and now do an audit and say how much that money was spent and how much the government has even made from it. Because if it is a loan, how many people have borrowed, how much were repaid, how is it going? They will now, the same thing that happened to the Asla Fund will still happen to the Nyota Fund. Okay. So I think what's happening now, as we go to the election, it is upon us as Kenyans to wake up and say no to this kind of play we see by this government. Just because everybody is silent and nobody is questioning the corruption within the Kenya Kwanza government doesn't mean that we should let it go. The Asla Fund is not well for this country. Because you cannot say that a government target less than 1% of the population when the majority are still struggling to make ends meet. Let the president, this money that were meant for the Nyota Fund, let them go and even revive and even explain to Kenyans how the Uwezo Fund and the Youth Enterprise Fund and the Youth Fund is working, so that many youth can be encouraged to apply for these funds and even lower the qualification on how an individual can apply or even a group, so that we can have something meaningful to the majority of youth, but not giving a certain thing to politicize everything and give room for some few individuals. By the end of the day, and let me tell you, Cindy, after this Nyota Fund must have been launched, okay? It's good that now, you know, the political of this country will start maybe next year, so nobody will pay more attention. You know, people will be running, like in Amuredi will now be running here shouting one time, so that we don't concentrate on what is happening. But I can tell you that maybe if the dust must have been settled, now that's when we'll realize how much have been stolen from this thing, just the same way they did to the e-citizen. Okay? The president is just opening more avenue for people to loot funds.
Muito, the president, or at least the Kenya Kwanza administration, seem to be experimenting more on the economy because of the Hustler Fund, which, you know, was meant to, you know, I'd say empower the normal citizens with the economy. You have the Uwezo Fund, you have the Women's Empowerment Fund, by the way, which is also being run in play and championed largely by the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. And now you also have the Nyota program. So why is it more about the economy? Because if you're going to borrow 5 billion shillings, or, you know, use some amount of money in these funds, you might as well just bring it out, take it to education, have free education, have bursaries, take it out, take to the health sector, and just try to ensure that SHA is working. Why are we so much with the economy side?
What my brother has said actually alluded to a better another version of which we were to explain concerning this whole shenanigans that is taking place on our economy. The funds that are being misused right now in the name of Nyota, in the name of, you know, especially Nyota fund, this is money which is supposed to be pumped into the Uwezo, Hustler, and Youth Fund. And you can't say that Hustler is not working, yet the banks are working with their digital platforms. So it works with the digital platforms. We see how the borrowers are escalated from one level to another level. So it works. Okay, if there's transparency and corrupt-free, you know, management of these funds. So if they would have taken the 5 billion and added to these existing funds, as he has rightly put it, this is where we and make it easily accessible on these other platforms, rather than just going there as groups. Maybe they would have a department that is that is scrutinizing whatever proposals, business proposals, youth are coming up with, and accessibility of enough adequate funds. Just the way we were recommending that the same thing would have been done to help, other than coming with a new model of dishing out the money. Just pump some more money into that one and let the students remain as equal for purposes of equity and equality at the same time. Just go borrow the money and have enough for yourself. That would help our youth in learning institutions. Now, coming to these ones, the platforms that are for every other youth below 35 years, had they boosted this existing Uwezo, Hustler, and Youth Fund, other than making them defunct, this is what we would have been doing as a government. You get the point? But now, the question, the political question, has been there before. How voters card vote buying is done. And I'm not accusing the government straight on right now, but I'm only using it as a speculative statement, because speculation, you cannot, if anything is vague, if something is vague, you leave people to conclude for themselves. So that's why we are very speculative that it could be political, because it works like that. We are voting using ID cards. Okay? And the criteria used here is that you must present your ID card. Okay? Now, even the visits at State House, it was all about the ID card. So wewe ni mpiga kura in short.
What visits?
At State House, the groups that visited State House from various counties, had they continued, that would have been another 470,000 votes, you know. If calculating 10,000, if you calculate 10,000 people invites into State House in one visit from every county, and we have 47 counties, if it would have happened continued, it would have been 470,000 successful target, you know. Now we're having 50,000, and it is after shortlisting. If you listen to what they have said, is that those who will be shortlisted. When you hear shortlisting, it means many will apply. You get the point? And there will be reasons why they may not qualify for it and have the 10,000, the 100,000 for the 50,000 shillings in the 5 billion. So that's how we're arriving at these figures. Okay? Because if we divide the 5 billion without any cent going anywhere for any other logistics, it means that money can be subdivided among the youth. It will go to 100,000 youth. Targeting 100,000 youth and maybe a million youth register for it, and then they don't get shortlisted, then it means 1 million ID cards are somewhere. You get the point? This is how politics is played. So it's not about politicizing this whole thing. When you leave us to speculate, this is what we come out with.
Do you feel if they would have explained a little bit more about what this program is and how it's going to impact, and it would have changed your view?
They will not explain it, because the platform that is supposed to be used is that political rally dice. You get the point? That's where they're supposed to do the explanation, which will come out so vague, because they will not come out clear to explain to them why we are doing away with Hustler Fund, or we are not so into Hustler Fund, we are not so into Youth Fund, we are not so into Uwezo Fund. This is the thing, because this is meant to create a platform for them to address Kenyans.
Right.
So it's campaigns all the way, full throttle, all the way to 2027.
All right.
So you cannot say that they're using the platforms for their campaigns, the two-term thing, because you've heard them say that. You cannot depoliticize it when they are using it politically and assume that everything else political should not be considered. And that's why we're bringing in the rigging thing.
All right, let's
the
go
vote
to
buying thing. IBC should speak about it.
Okay, let's go to matters strategy now. Recently, we saw the former Baringo Senator Gideon Moi drop out of. He was gunning for the Baringo senatorial seat in the upcoming by-elections, but he dropped out of the race after meeting with UDA and has opted to back UDA candidate. Now, according to what President Ruto says, is that he's engaging, Gideon Moi is engaging the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and we obviously know he has been in engagement with Raila Odinga. From where you sit, Wasonga, to move from talking about these families which have long been in country's politics, in 2022, the dynasty versus the hustler, to now, going to work with them or engage, whatever that means, engage with them in this particular age and day and era. What does this mean about 2027 and how key of a factor these three leaders will be for Ruto?
Thank you. One thing majority of us will understand is that President William Ruto is not a leader. Ruto is a politician, and we must understand the difference of being a leader and a politician. You can't be a leader and a politician, and you can be a leader and not be a politician, or you can just be a politician. Let me give an example. When President Mwai Kibaki took over from President Moi, Ruto, Kibaki, apart from being a politician, he was also a leader. And everybody can testify how his 10 years in office looked like. But now, whatever President William Ruto is not even a leader. This is just a pure politician. And I think in his entire life, there is no any other job he has done apart from politics. In 2022,
he was a chicken seller.
No, that one,
he is actually.
Can we verify that? I know the only thing, apart from big politics, the only thing that I know is good at is a businessman. And he's very good in agriculture. That one I give to him. But now, what President, in 2022, you remember that Ruto came into office by branding the three families, that is the Kenyatta family, the Odinga and the Moi family, as the dynasty. These are the families that have really enjoyed the politics of this nation right from independence. They controlled the political temperature and the political atmosphere in this country. Remember Moi ruling for 24 years, Kenyatta being the first president and the fourth president. So there are some people that you cannot just rubbish off as far as the politics of this nation is concerned. Ruto knew that in 2022, whatever he branded them, the dynasties, and this did not end well with them, okay? Yeah. If you remember that politically, Ruto finished the name of the Moi family in the political arena. You remember, Gideon Moi, there was no any son or grandson of Moi that or still hold any political office. He also dealt away with the Uhuru Kenyatta's candidate. And you know what happened immediately after election. So Ruto, in his own sense as a politician, he knew that if the Moi, Raila, and Gideon could now join forces, even now that things are even worse, Gachagua is impeached. If these three individuals could join forces and let's say join the opposition to go against President William Ruto, the one-term song would have been more real than it is now. So the only thing he could have done is now try to win his way back so that he can get the support of these three of this individual. And that is exactly what he's doing. Gideon Moi, even if today Gideon Moi was to run for the Baringo by-election or against the UDA candidate, Gideon would have won that seat. And Gideon winning that seat could have bring him back to the political limelight. That is something that Ruto does not want to gamble about. Okay? I'm very sure even today as we speak, if it was what he wanted, then Raila could have not even filled a candidate in any of the by-election so that he can carry the day. But because he know his second term tenure is facing a very big threat, okay, he has to toe down and maybe go by the terms of this individual. Bringing Uhuru to the picture is that Ruto want to destabilize the force of Rigathi Gachagua in Mount Kenya region, because he know that if Gachagua and Uhuru could just go, it will mean more problem to him. I know Murede will disagree, but you know that with the presence of the Jubilee Party in Mount Kenya, it will take a very good portion of the influence of the DCP party and the Gachagua in the same region. Right. Because as we speak today, Ruto knows that the voice of the Mount Kenya is already gone. Okay, he will not enjoy as much support as he did in 2022. Now, looking at the current political arrangement, and the only way he can use the divide and rule in Mount Kenya is now to try to go in to talk with Uhuru Kenyatta, bring Jubilee back on the picture, then scramble for the space within Mount Kenya region. Now with that, even the little that he will get, he will not get everything, but either will the DCP and Rigathi Gachagua, who is playing to be the prefect of the United Opposition, will also not get the most aspired support he intended to have. So bringing Uhuru back on board is just trying to destabilize Rigathi Gachagua's effect in Mount Kenya region. And with the Gideon Moi, now with the Gideon Moi back online, now he has now solidified his support within the Rift Valley region. So now he's just trying to see how much he can secure his second term in office. Okay. To Wasonga's point, recently Gachagua said or asked the former President Uhuru Kenyatta to steer clear of politics and, you know, enjoy his retirement. Is he getting the feeling that perhaps his entry or re-entry back into the political scene will destabilize DCP's position in Mount Kenya region? And as you answer that, does Ruto really need the support of Odinga and Kenyatta and Moi combined?
Well, before I get into that one, I think I should call my brother, so that he can rest. And there are some things that he's actually... I know he has a preconceived notion that I'll object to what, I'll object what he said. But I agree with you in so many things. Now that you're acknowledging that the Mount Kenya politics have taken shape, that you cannot really discuss Mount Kenya votes without putting Gachagua at the top. Now, that's a very good observation. What I'm trying to say is Mount Kenya politics right now, as I also look into other zones, regions of the country, Mount Kenya politics has got a dynamic that most people do not understand from this other side, what exactly goes on in Mount Kenya. When you talk about Mount Kenya voters, it's not about the leader. And that's the mistake that William Ruto has done by picking Uhuru Kenyatta as a member of the dynasty. Mount Kenya people can choose to think all the way because it is about their fathers and about their mothers and about their grandfathers, their grandparents. That reminder of the politics of those days plays in Mount Kenya. It does not have to play in Nyanza because it was not having this kind of challenges. In Mount Kenya, if you talk about the dynasty, we even know how we got into this politics and arrived at a point where we said, okay, Kenyatta basi chukue endelea hivyo. You understand? But we are not so good friends because of betrayals that took place before in the pre-independence war, pre-independence struggle. You know, that's the Mau Mau versus the traitors. You understand? That's a true history that has never been spoken to the Kenyans. So when you talk about to a Mount Kenyan, they will take you to that history. It's unlike speaking the same or presenting the same to the people of in Nyanza Coast, Rift Valley, or northeastern Kenya, where there were no issues. But in Kenya, in Mount Kenya, politics, you might try to introduce politics of this nature, and they know what the dynasty is all about. And it's not about Uhuru Kenyatta, it's about those who supported that system, even betrayal, who abated betrayal in the Kenya's history. You know, true history, which can be spoken. But the history that Kenyans read is the history from the British. So when we get to a point of real history, passed on information, then it will arouse certain emotions amongst the people of Mount Kenya, and that's why people were wondering last time, how come these people are not really obeying their leader when he says follow this direction? We are not led. We guide our leaders because we tell them what we want. Even Rigathi Gachagua, we've made it so clear to him, if you dare go to the other side, please take your family and move on with them and leave us alone. So the voters, but when the president is playing votes with dynasty, big images, without knowing the history behind, it means that the strategists in his camp don't have anything to do with what is beyond or before, happened before the history of any of these dynasties. Where be it the Odingas. Today we are hearing people in Nyanza saying, no, hii dynasty imetufinya. This is Nyanza. We actually interact with them on a daily basis. Tunataka hii pia ituondokee. Because they're learning from what Mount Kenya is doing. That you have to be free and make decisions by your own self, because you are an adult as per the Constitution, 18 years, make your own decision, make your own choices. So right, the choice of going for...
Just a minute, Muito. Going by what you're saying, then what does Ruto perceive Kenyatta brings to the table?
His miscalculation is that he's not addressing the Kenyans. He needs the votes, and the votes are by Kenyans, not the Mount Kenya people. Now, if you're talking about the regional politics, because you're talking about Uhuru Kenyatta. If we pick somebody like Uhuru Kenyatta, he picks like somebody like Uhuru Kenyatta, and does not remember that even when we were vouching for votes for him, canvassing for votes for him in Mount Kenya, we did that, and he obtained 4 million plus votes from Mount Kenya, while Uhuru Kenyatta was able to get like 1 million votes, which was just for people who sympathized with that side, because Jubilee euphoria had not left people's minds. Now, this time round, even those who were in Jubilee, who are so affected by the, infected by the Jubilee euphoria, those people are now healed, and they have decided to walk like Mount Kenya people. And that's why you see organic meetings, organic crowds, just gathering around, milling around Rigathi Gachagua without any enticement, financial, monetarily, or any other way. These are people who just leave their home yard and go to the street to meet their men. And what I'm trying to tell you is they had it foreseen that this is how Mount Kenya looks like. Uhuru Kenyatta has no major impact, because we don't care his money, we will eat it in Mount Kenya. They will eat it in Mount Kenya, but there'll be no major impact to William Ruto, and he knows it. I'll give you an example of 1986, when I was about to drown in a dam called Chinga in my home area. When you're about to drown, you grab anything and anything that is close to you, that is tangible. You get the point? And so I tried to cling to the marsh, because you are working on those, mushy surfaces, but underneath is water. So I didn't know. I was only a young boy. So we had gone on a fishing expedition. What happened is that I was trying to save myself with the marsh before I screamed for help. And I went deeper, from the waist to the chest. That's when I screamed. I would have drowned had I because there was nakatika. No, what I'm trying to say is, what Ruto is doing, he's only clinging to the marsh. Raila Odinga is the marsh. He's losing his ground, nationally and regionally. Uhuru Kenyatta lost it a long time ago. Gideon Moi, KANU, is inexistent. It is a defunct party. It is only meant left around. Even their major supporters are not there to hype for that party. Which is this other guy I've left out?
Which other guy? You talked about.
There is no other guy. So the dynasty, we have gladly handed it over to William Ruto with nothing.
Wasonga. If you look at the headline on the Nation that speaks of scramble for Mount Kenya, fear, ambition, and the DCP effect, when you look at this move of working with Odinga and working with Gideon Moi and working with Uhuru Kenyatta, is this because of the DCP effect, not just within Mount Kenya, but what will be perceived as the effect may spread across other parts of the country by 2027?
What happens is that, when Ruto was voted in out of so much sympathy. And he decided, I would say that when Ruto was campaigning, maybe he thought running a country was just some easy task. And now when he gets into power and everything now lies with him, he now realized that he has overpromised. These promises and failed promises to some extent made the majority of Kenyans lost confidence in the leadership and the governance of President William Ruto, not only in Mount Kenya, but across the country. And what President William Ruto now trying to do is just trying to make his ways out, okay? The only problem why the talk between Uhuru and the Gideon Moi and Raila will favor President William Ruto because he knows that Mount Kenya, why do we, most of us, or more, you talk about the political of this country without mentioning Mount Kenya, is because now the Mount Kenya first is rich in vote. This is a region that enjoys over 5 million votes, okay? And where we have 5 million people, it's not people that you can now say that they don't mean anything economically and even as much and politically in this country. So Ruto destabilizing the effect of Rigathi Gachagua in Mount Kenya will somehow make him sleep, even if it is 2 hours. At least he can close his eyes. So that is what he's doing. And I think if the united oppositions are not careful, he will succeed. He will use the divide and rule because Ruto will do anything possible within his powers to ensure that the Jubilee Party has a presidential candidate. And we saw that when the Jubilee Party officially endorsed the former CS Matiang'i as their presidential candidate, and listening to what former President Uhuru Kenyatta says during the ADC, Rigathi Gachagua somehow come and claim he was not somehow happy with the whole thing, meaning he knew that if Matiang'i will come out of the united opposition and give them, now the united opposition have their candidate, then we have the Jubilee candidate, then we have President William Ruto. The divide and rule tactics by President William Ruto will have succeeded. Because you know now the people of Mount Kenya, the 4 million votes in Mount Kenya, he will not get the majority as I said, but at least they will be divided. Some will vote for Matiang'i, others will vote for Rigathi Gachagua's candidate, and a few will vote for President William Ruto. And now what will President William Ruto do? He will now go to Nyanza, have the support of Raila, get around 80% of the votes from Nyanza, enjoy around 90 or 95% on the vote of Rift Valley, go to Western, okay, get a very good percentage, and with that he will now have his second term in office. So I think as it is now, that is the exact thing that William Ruto is trying to do. He's trying as much as possible to ensure that this united opposition does not remain united up to 2027. Because their division and their disagreement will work into the advantage of President William Ruto.
Before you move into something else.
They have more than one candidate.
Okay.
And Morita, you will agree with me. If today the united opposition, as it is, the principle, we are talking of even Matiang'i inclusive, because I saw them during the NDC of the Wiper Party in Urban. Did you? Okay?
Yeah.
If these guys, if they remain united as they are, then they will pose a serious threat to President William Ruto's second term in office. And now what President William Ruto is doing, trying to bring these families on board, is trying as much as possible to ensure that they divide the united opposition, so that by the end of the day, they will end up even with more than one candidate at the poll. And this will give Ruto the divide and rule, meaning he will now divide them and rule over them. That is exactly why I think, and that is why Rigathi Gachagua feel the pressure of the Jubilee re-entering into the Mount Kenyan politics. And that's why he even says, and encourage Uhuru Kenyatta to stay back. Okay? And that's why at some point, even the individual within the district party says that Matiang'i somehow might be a project of the government. Okay? Not necessarily is, but having more than one candidate will give Ruto a second term in office. Something that they will not want to risk.
Maybe a point of clarification. He said it so well about what's happening and the reason why Mount Kenya people are so concerned about Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta, unlike Mwai Kibaki, because we've had former retired presidents, 2 retired presidents in Mount Kenya region. So we have an experience of what a retired president should behave or carry himself. Non-interference of the current politics and non-patronage of the politics of the moment. So what Uhuru Kenyatta is doing is to try and drive us while he is outside power. And we are warning him, please, the game is murky. So don't enter into the mud and expect to remain clean. you know. So we are telling him, as a person we respect, please desist, avoid, just stay away from this ugly thing. Don't allow yourself to be used. But now Uhuru Kenyatta, he's the party leader of Jubilee Party. Mwai Kibaki was still the party leader of PNU or any other party that at this point of retirement took place. But swiftly, you know, he fizzled out. And that is why we are saying, if Uhuru Kenyatta tries to make himself dirty in the politics of the moment, the people who are scampering for leadership, they will make him dirty. The voters who are actually in support of those who are now aiming at becoming leaders of the nation, while we have supported you for 10 years, voted for you 3 times, and you're still not satisfied, the Mount Kenya people are getting angrier. And that's what I'm saying. When you thought Uhuru Kenyatta was able to garner 1 million votes for Raila Odinga, this time round he cannot get it. Secondly, to clarify with figures, Raila Odinga last time was able to garner 64% of Nyanza vote. Where is his 80% coming from? And he's losing ground by the day today as we speak. So expect 30% or 40%.
Are you saying it's going to go
Yes,
lower
yes,
than
it's
that?
going to be around 30 or 40.
Luo-Nyanza region.
Yes, Luo-Nyanza region, because that is where we are at. They also clamoring for change. So the Matiang'i factor is neither here nor there. Matiang'i appeared in Kalonzo Musyoka's national delegates whatever event. But remember, Martha Karua had it. He never showed up. Eugene Omalo had it. He never showed up. But where he thinks he's popular, I mean, it's a popular vote. Of course, let me tell you, if Rigathi Gachagua does not go for it, Kalonzo Musyoka is an option. And so Matiang'i is not an option for the people of Mount Kenya.
All right, because we have to wrap
right
it up.
now as
we have
speak.
to wrap it up, gentlemen. So I'd love to give you an opportunity to wrap it up, because if you look at the situation in Kirinyaga County, where, you know, we've had women who've come out to protest, to lead the anti-Gachagua protest. My question will be, I'll begin with you, Mwito, in a minute as we wrap it up. This should have been sort of expected with the United Opposition should expect that there are some of the places that are not going to be as popular as they'd want to be, same as for the Kenya Kwanza government. So how do they deal with this particular anti-person protests? In a minute as we wrap it up.
I didn't get that question clear. The anti-person
is in quote, could be anti-Gachagua protest, could be anti-Wamalo protest.
The protest that took place yesterday was, I mean, is it yesterday? Yeah, it's neither here nor there. One, this is politics. And when you come into politics, you don't come into politics as a woman. There is no political arena for female gender and a political arena for male gender. When you enter into the mud and choose to swim in it, you'll come out muddy and dirty, you know? And what we're trying to say is, what the women tried to do, what triggered the anger that was there, was that they claimed there was hired goons by Karinda and Anne Waiguru, because it's in public domain. They were mentioned. They're there, so we'll say it. Anne Waiguru. We will not look at hiring goons as a female, as a feministic goon hiring, and the other one is masculine. It's all criminal. It's all criminal, because it was meant to injure somebody in the crowd that is gathered or milling around Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka, be they children or fellow women, because the goons are there to create an impact. They don't care who they're going to hurt. That was a miscalculated thing, and that's why Gachagua was telling them to use their brains and see their sisters and their mothers could be somewhere around there and get injured. Secondly,
in a minute, Mwito, we're wrapping it up.
I've just looked at it from a feminism versus criminality. That's a criminal act, without viewing it from which side they have an inclination to. Of course, their government side. And if they tried to think that this is how it's going to be, they will be met with the same force out there. I saw women misbehaving and rolling on the ground, you know, in a very obnoxious manner. And they were rolling on the ground, you know, with some promiscuous, fire versions. And we didn't like that, because it's not something that should be exposed even to the children. Those images were bad, evil, and they were not really feministic. So what we're trying to say is, can women choose to respect themselves rather than cry wolf that we have been attacked, yet they used that masculinistic, whatever kind of approach. So this is not misogyny, which they want to accuse Gachagua over. Gachagua loves women. He has a woman in his house. He has sisters. He has people who he can relate with and supporters who are women. So Anne Waiguru should desist from this and many others. So I agree that Gachagua, what he said is that they should have given it a second thought. A second thought is in the brains. They should have thought
now to
twice.
you, as we wrap it up, these anti-Gachagua protests, have kicked off in Kirinyaga County. Do you perceive they're going to spread across various other places in a minute?
No, it won't. I did listen to the statement by Gachagua on both Governor Anne Waiguru and Governor Cecil Mbarire, the Embu governor and the Kirinyaga governor, and I equally listened to the aftermath, the press by some individual from Embu and the demos in Kirinyaga. What I want to say that whatever Gachagua did was that the statement was just purely political. I didn't see any kind of disrespect to our female leaders or the two governors. It was a pure political, because the other Gachagua said that they should not be used by the government to divide the Mount Kenya people. How is that disrespecting women? In fact, what I would say is that whoever hired those or paid the demonstrators that were demonstrating in Kirinyaga were actually the enemies of the women we have in this country and the female leaders. How do you pay women, mothers, to roll on the ground and do some God knows what on the ground in the name of protesting? Okay? So I think whatever Gachagua made, and if the good people of Kirinyaga could wake up, then they could now read the kind of a leader they have. That this governor does not mean well for them and does not even respect the women from Kirinyaga. Because you cannot do that to our mothers and daughters of this country. The statement by the Gachagua was purely political. And as such, it will not be used against it. And even if it was political, it did not use any word that demean also some kind of disrespect to the two governors. So on this, I support Rigathi Gachagua, because I would say we always go by what we believe is right. For this, I think Rigathi Gachagua did not say anything wrong for the leaders. But whoever paid those ladies to demonstrate in Kirinyaga are the real enemies of the women leaders we have in this country.
The Karindas, the Cecil Mbarires, the Waigurus would have been in the forefront. Actually, they would have been in the forefront. What I'm saying is, they should have been in the forefront. Allow me. They should have been in the forefront. Allow me. They should have been in the forefront.
Allow him with in seconds.
In Embu was so mature, because what those guys in Embu did is that they just came out and to defend their governor through a press, and they said what the governor is doing to them. What I'm talking about, the disrespect to the women and the leadership of and the female leadership of this country.
Your seconds are up. Your seconds are up, Wasonga.
What I was
we have to wrap it up.
I'm just concluding that anytime you want to run a demonstration, be in the forefront. So Anne Waiguru would have been there rolling with them in trousers or dera and whatever, and do whatever she expected other wives and daughters to do.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Mwita Mureithi on my immediate right, a political strategist as well as a friend of the Mountain, and Matthew Wasonga, a political commentator. Thank you for watching. We hope you're duly informed. See you tomorrow, same time, same place.